I'll call the meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess pretty much what this meeting is about is, I think some of the ads that are being said on the radio, to me, should be facts. That's what we're talking about, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that there should be people saying that the size of the jail is going to be determined after the vote. I don't know how you guys feel, but I mean, it's based on $10.5 million.
Well, I think the main clarification is specifically like the ballot issue says. This is a vote on whether we're going to spend $10.5 million to construct a 70-bed facility. That's it.
What I think is, though, it doesn't specifically say 70-bed facility, and that's where we might have screwed up on these.
Okay, but we can't spend $10.5 million on the 30-bed.
No.
I mean,
I think pretty much everyone is in agreement, at least, with the fact that this is going to be, I mean, that's our plans, that's our design, everything is geared towards a 70-bed. And so I don't know how much confusion is out there. I think the main thing is whether we're going to spend the money to build that size of a jail and whether we're going to be a regional jail or not. Because that's, I think, is the big thing that's before the public, is that we're going to have that big of a size. Ultimately, what the commission does after the election is, again, totally up to the commission. You could do,
Not according to Josh.
well,
And that's another one that got brought up, is he's throwing stuff out there that we have no authority to say anything about what happens afterwards. It's totally up to him and him only.
that's part of the problem that we run into with campaigns, political ads, just like we see with regard to other races in this state, is the language is not always necessarily 100% accurate, but that person has the right to say what they want. That's kind of
So
what.
can we say whatever we want?
Well, I guess it all depends upon what level
If I want to
of.
go out there and say, well, you know, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, and so I can say whatever I want on the radio?
Well, as long as you're not committing a crime, you have the free speech right. Now, whether you say something that is appropriate or inappropriate is totally up to you. And then, based upon what you say, that's where the public voices its opinion of that individual at the next election or through their own public means. You can't limit free speech in this country, and whether it's,
No, but I thought we agreed that we had these public meetings and stuff, we was gonna
Correct.
put out facts only. And
Correct.
Now that's gone completely on the wayside, and we're not putting out any facts.
Again, how should I word this best? An individual can put out what they believe is facts, and then your right would be to rebut that as far as any type of, we see all these ads in our other campaigns, whether it's for governor or Senate or whatever. One side claims the other side is lying, and the other side claims that the other side is lying. And it's up to the public to make the determination of who is telling the truth. That's part of the problem that we have in this country with all the allegations of fake news, etc. Again, it's basically up to the voter to make that determination on who they want to believe. And then it goes to credibility as far as how you limit that. It's, number one, we're right up a week away from an election. And number two, I don't know what our remedy would be anyhow.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Okay?
If the vote comes back no, does Josh have the authority to say who goes where, whether that jail is open? I want to get this on record right
Okay.
now. Does Josh have the authority to say if that jail is going to be open or not, and where everybody is going to go, and he decides everything on what happens with this jail? Does Josh have that authority? I want this on record right now.
Okay, let's break things down a little bit.
Okay?
Number one, Josh is responsible for housing all prisoners.
Correct.
Okay? Now, that dollar spent on housing that prisoner is controlled by the county commission.
If we have a jail, he is responsible for handling those. If
No.
we have a jail facility,
We have to have some facility, whether it's in Walworth County or not.
okay? I agree.
Now, if that facility in Walworth County is closed, he is still responsible for getting those people to and from whatever facility we are going to use as a jail, because we have to have a place to house our prisoners.
But it's the arresting authorities'
Responsibility.
to get them to that facility.
As of right now, yes.
Okay, so that's not his responsibility if they get arrested in Mobridge.
If they get arrested in Mobridge, it's going to be Mobridge Police Department's responsibility to transport them to whatever jail is designated as.
Does Josh tell Mobridge where they have to take them?
Yes, because wherever it's going to be designated, it's going to be designated, whether it's designated by Josh or the commission.
Does Josh designate it, or can the commission designate this?
I think the commission designates where the
Okay,
jail
that-
is going to be.
Perfect, thank you.
And then the sheriff is responsible for transporting once they're at that facility. But
Okay.
the arresting, according to the Attorney General's opinion, the arresting agency, whether it's the Sheriff's Department, the Highway Patrol, or local police, in this case, the City of Mobridge, is responsible for transporting them to the facility wherever it's designated. And then after that, once they're at the facility, then they're the responsibility of the sheriff.
Okay, thank you.
See, what I really call this meeting about is just, it's the ads. I mean, we had special meetings, and they were based on a 70-bed facility at $10.5 million. So I don't understand why some of these ads are saying this. I don't believe that those ads should be on.
Well, and I think Josh sent an email, didn't you, Josh, that you pulled that one?
I pulled the one yesterday morning at 8:30.
So I think that one's off, because I sent that one out when I got notice of it.
Right.
I don't know what other ads are on the radio right now, and actually I haven't even heard any of them, so.
Well, to me, when somebody is trying to put words in a commissioner's mouth, I don't think that that's right. And that's what one of the ads basically is doing, is if he's saying that it's going to be decided after the election what it's going to be. When he's trying to put words in my mouth, I don't believe that should be illegally, anybody should be able to put words in my mouth.
Well, that is true. Again, it goes to,
Like freedom of speech or whatever. but
yeah,
I don't,
and then your forum that you're in right now is how you would be addressing those issues. Since you're a commissioner, you have the right to call a commission meeting and address those issues. And that is your forum that you do that in. Again, we turn into it's politics, and politics tend to be a sticky subject, but as far as criminally, there is no,
Yeah, I just need some clarification because the ballot states contingency bonds and a registered principal amount not exceeding 10.5 million. So if this passes, could the commissioners decide to only spend 2 million?
Sure. You guys can decide whatever you want. The intention of this ballot issue is basically, are we going to spend $10.5 million, or whatever that dollar amount is, to construct a 70-bed facility, which is what the jail committee proposed to the county commission. The county commission then proposed to the whole group and decided to make it a public vote. I think it's pretty clear that the whole issue here is whether we're going to build a 70-bed facility for 10.5. The next day, you could turn around and vote to approve whatever you want. Right now, the issue is are we going to build that size facility for that dollar amount?
But if it passes, that doesn't mean they have to build it for 10.5 million. They can build a facility
Not
for
to
2
exceed,
million.
right.
Right.
Okay, so technically we could build a new indoor 4-H arena, take that 10.5 and build a indoor 4-H arena
What
instead
is
of a
that?
jail?
No, because it's New Law Enforcement Center is the title of the
So if
vote.
we put the sheriff's office in an indoor 4-H arena, that would qualify.
No, because it says for the purpose of financing a new law enforcement center, facility, furnishings, and equipping of the same.
Well, I'm just trying to make a point where
The other issue too is that
we would never do it, but I'm
this
saying,
still could be referred. I mean, just because you voted to pass it, this was kind of an issue of, should we go ahead with it? It's not a referral issue. I still think this issue could be referred. So even if it does pass, you guys are going to vote, and I still think it can be referred, to be honest. Because you put it up to a vote of the public prior to any type of referral generated by anyone in the public.
well, wouldn't that be what the referral would be, is another vote of the public?
Exactly.
Why
Which, that's right, why would they do it?
why
But,
would that make sense?
well, a lot of things happen that don't necessarily make sense. If you then came out with, just like you had discussed as well, we're not going to spend that whole 10.5, we're going to go ahead and build a $2.5 million facility. If we're going to borrow money, I think then it could turn around and get referred again.
Just because of this $10.5 million bond, if it would pass, doesn't mean that we would be forced to build a 70-bed jail then.
You're still the commission, you can.
We can build a 30-bed jail if we decide to want to build that.
Because basically the way you determine to put this to a public vote is, you want to find what the public's views are. And the best way to do that is by vote. And just because it passes or does not pass, does not limit you from going ahead and deciding what you want to do as a group of commissioners. You can turn around and say it goes down and it's fine. You turn around the next day and vote to do it anyhow. Again, it would be subject to referral again. I think that it would put, the public would be a little bit upset with the people making those determinations, and that's how we change our government, is by the vote, and that's based upon whether you like the performance of the individuals who you have voted in office. And so that's kind of how our government changes. Now, none of this is ever eliminating anything. You as commissioners always have the ultimate decision on things that are under your scope of authority, which is basically the purse for the county. And that's kind of how the checks and balances works on the other elected officials. You control the purse. The other elected officials, whether it's a state's attorney, sheriff, auditor, whatever, control their office, but then you control the purse of the office. And that's kind of your big control over that. But ultimately, each elected official has their own authority, and how that authority is accepted is generally, we get elected or not elected every 4 years by the vote. And that's kind of where we're at with this problem is we have two elected officials disagreeing, and this is one of the forums that you can exercise your disagreement in because you have the power to call a meeting of the county commission, which is then a public meeting. Do I have you thoroughly confused, or?
No, I understand, but
You see, to me, that when Brad was here and Leap was here, that committee decided on not a 30 bed. That was talked about, it wasn't very much, but it was determined that this was going to be a 70 bed, 10.5 million. That's what the meetings, they went to Mowbridge and Selby and Oven. So I don't understand why there should be anything other on a radio station than that. I don't care if freedom of speech or not. That's exactly what we hired individuals for.
Correct.
And that's what they determined, so I don't understand why there should be any other word used besides 70, 10.5 million. Now the outcome of, to me, the outcome of that, what the people are voting on, is voting on that bond of $10.5 million. So I don't understand why we should have all this other stuff thrown in there. Because it's not facts.
hey, Josh, you would
That's a
like to
fiction.
explain. Where did this 30 bed come up with?
Where did it come from? It was just talked about. Just like the 40, 50, and 70. Like I said, I thought it was, I didn't see anything wrong with it at the time. The ad pulled.
But you know, if
I called you yesterday, told Jamie, which is fine.
But you know, the people, to me, would want to, the people should know, I thought that's what we were trying to give them was facts, because a person looking at building, and I don't know how people think, but anyhow, people building wanting to vote on $10.5 million for 70 bed is one thing. But if they go, well, maybe they're gonna build a 30 bed, and that might be $5.5 million. It's just figures I'm using. If that isn't, I would definitely think that people would think way different on how they're gonna vote. I mean, if and they know that they're not gonna have this 10.5 million here, it might be down to 5.5 million. But we're talking about 10.5 million. That's where it should be.
I think what's out there, though, Scott, is the discretion that the board has, and it's been talked about, what the discretion of the board has. That has been shared, and those options have been shared, and that 30 bed has been talked about. But like I said, the ad is pulled. It's not there no more.
No,
It is a $10.5 million project, I know that. I was sat on the committee, and I'm not here to argue with any of it. That's not what the point of this meeting is. The ad's pulled.
No, I know that.
So, I don't have anything else to say on it. It is up to you guys. Commissioner Schlomer just said, the auditor, Becky Crime just verified that, by saying we could essentially spend $2 million, That's what I'm hearing from the public also, and that's what I've been saying, the same thing. It's $10.5 million project, that's what the vote is. The board has the discretion to spend up to that or less than that, depending on what they want to do. That's what I've been saying.
Have we as a group ever talked about a 30 bed?
I have with Scott. Scott's the only, when we've talked about keeping the addition, taking that, and a smaller addition onto this.
Absolutely, Josh and I have talked about it.
But that's.
But on one vote. So,
But
to me,
those are all just ideas.
Yeah.
And I shared those with the public because the public doesn't know what's in all of our minds.
Right, but there again, I'm one vote, and that's how I look at it. Just because Josh and I talk about this, I don't know the rest of the commissioners what they're thinking. All I know is what they are thinking is 10.5 million. They should be because they're sitting here.
And that's what it is. It is 10.5 million for the 70 bed.
And that, to me, I hate to see if our little Walworth County goes to measures like all this stuff everybody's getting in the mail right now. I don't believe that's Walworth County. I don't believe that. I think we're smarter people than that. And all that garbage we're all getting in the mail. I don't believe to me, we should be telling the public facts. Everybody knows each other. Almost everybody knows each other in this county. I think we should stick to facts. And to me, the fact is, we know that we're voting on 10.5 million. What does anybody else have to say?
I think just for clarification, since you already have called this meeting and you have 4 of the 5 commissioners, I think that it would be, if you want to have clarity, I think we should just get clarity from the commissioners right now. It's your understanding that this is, since you proposed it to the vote of the people, that it's your clarification and your understanding as commissioners that this vote is for whether the public views, or excuse me, what the public's view is on constructing a 70-bed, $10.5 million facility. And that's my understanding of what the ballot issue is. And then I think if all of you are in agreement with that too, I think that kind of puts it to bed because you're the ones who make the vote and expend the funds.
That's very correct. And that's why I wanted it to go to the vote of the people. If they vote on yes for $10.5 million bed, 70, that's what it'll be, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how the rest of you think, but that's what the people are, to me, that's what the people are voting on.
I agree.
I agree.
I think that puts it to bed then. If you got your 4 commissioners saying this is what we understand the view is and you're the ones who are the controllers of the funds of the county, again, this is one of your tools that you can call this forum as commissioners to address the issue and put any confusion to bed.
After the election, we can't change our mind.
You can do whatever you want. You can change your mind the next day. Right now, we're just asking the public what their views are because the commission does not want to act if the majority of the public is not in favor. And it's kind of we're taking a test to see what the pulse of the county is with regard to spending that amount of money.
Yes, sir.
On factual basis, could you clarify, please, the $3,000 per acre?
Well, that was, but it did say approximately. And the other fact with it too was, that's all that was, is if in your land could be valued at that 3,000 an acre. That's all that was. And then it showed if it was $1,200 an
The
acre.
last land sale was at $4,550 an acre.
So that's all that is just showing a figure so somebody can see that if your land is up here, what it is there.
But
That's how I looked at it.
But do we have anything that is assessed at that for taxation purposes right now?
To me, when it was in the letter, that was just showing somebody if and your land could be at there. It's
No,
not
but-
saying that there is land there.
Okay, that's what I'm understanding, but we should share those people with the public because they're seeing that inflated number, but not the actual assessed evaluation for the county.
It actually had both in there, because I had to retype that part. It had $1,300 value average and 3,000. It's no different than if you just say, well, your taxes are gonna go up by this much if your house is valued at 100,000, or this much if your house is valued at 300,000. It was just two different values. It's not saying that my land is valued at $3,000 an acre right now, but if it was, that's how much I'd pay.
Because every house is not, we just used one house at $300,000, that's all we did. We could have used 2 houses at, one at 100,000, one at 300,000. To me, it's no different than that.
My house is valued at 40,000. way different than what it's gonna be at 300,000. So it was just,
No, but that's fine, just wanted the clarification because I'm getting questions on that and they don't know the difference between where that number came from. And I said, I don't know, I said, again, ask your commissioners from your area.
See
That
that,
Last land sale I know of was
But-
just north of Glenham, there was $4,550 an
That's
acre.
just the sale, it's not an assessment.
That's the sale of it.
Yep, I understand that.
but see, that's all that was.
And
is-
someone very well may get that, but it's,
Yeah, see, that's, to me, that's all that was in there for, like I said, we should have probably put 2 houses in there, 2 totally different houses. That's all that was for, is just to show somebody that this is what it could, they both approximately, everything's approximately, but I guess that's, when I read it, that's exactly how that's how I took it, that it was nothing saying it, there are $3,000 an acre. It's just approximately, if your land was here, that's what it's gonna be at, that's what it's gonna be.
thank you for the clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Does anybody else have anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay, motion passed. Thank you.